I am a fundamentals guy at heart, and when I wrote The Only Sales Guide You'll Ever Need, the reason that I wrote this book is because I care about the things that are timeless, that are never going to change, that are going to be true 20 years from now. And I didn't want to write a book that was timely. I didn't want to write something on social media or account-based selling or some topic that in a few years isn't going to be relevant to anyone. I wanted to write something that in 20 years, if you go back and you look at this book, everything in it is still going to be true. And maybe in 40 years, maybe not in 60 years, I don't know, but a lot of it I would say still will be true anytime in the future as long as you're a human being. And I want to walk you through this because if you haven't bought the book, at the 6-month mark, it makes sense to buy it. It's a bestseller. It's doing really well, but we need to give it another pop because we got a half a year before we reach the 1-year anniversary. We've got a second book coming out in August. So let's look at the chapters, self-discipline, or what I call the art of me management. When is it going to be out of fashion for you to be disciplined and to manage yourself and manage your commitments and manage your calendar and have a routine that allows you to do what's necessary to succeed in whatever endeavor you're thinking of, including sales? And when is optimism going to be a bad idea? I call that chapter a positive mental attitude. When is it going to be a good idea not to have a positive mental attitude? At no time in history has that ever been useful to have a negative, pessimistic, cynical, skeptical attitude. Caring, the desire to help others. Been around for a long time, going to be around for a long time. I'm a relationships guy at heart, and the fundamentals of selling have a lot to do with your relationships. Competitiveness, a burning desire to be the best. When do you not need to be competitive? You're always going to need to compete. If you're in sales, 20 years from now, you will still be competing. And right now you're competing with people that do the same thing you do, and you're competing with doing nothing. And doing nothing is one of the toughest competitors. Resourcefulness, finding a way or making one. When is that not going to be necessary in what you do? You're always going to need to be resourceful. And if a human being is gifted with anything, it's creativity and imagination. And whatever we can imagine, we can bring into being. And we do. Given a long enough timeline, we solve all of our problems through our resourcefulness. Initiative, taking action before it's necessary. How many of the problems that you have now would be solved if you decided to be proactive instead of reactive? How much better would your results be if you decided to take initiative rather than wait? Your results would be nothing like they are now if you just took initiative. Communication, listening and connecting with other people. It's what we do. We're human beings. But listening is the ultimate act of caring. And if you really want someone to believe that they can trust you, you won't look them in the eyes, you'll look at their mouth so that they can see that you're actually listening. And when you pay attention and you give them the gift of your focus and your full attention, you're going to have people buy from you. It's true because it's always been true. Accountability. You're always going to be responsible for what you sell. It's a fact. 20 years from now, that'll be even more true. This is how you get influence. And so the capstone chapter 10, this is how you actually get influence, by being somebody worth buying from in the first place. That's the most important thing. If you only read the first half of the book, you'd be a better salesperson just with that. In the second half of the book, we look at the skill sets. Closing. So you've got to ask for and gain commitments. Prospecting. You've got to identify and open opportunities. Storytelling. You've got to be able to give people a vision of a better future and tell them how to get there. Diagnosing, which means the desire to understand root causes, not the presenting problem where your prospective client tells you the same thing everybody tells you. Oh, we're struggling with this thing or that thing. You know the reason that they can't change has nothing to do with that surface answer they give you. It's the deep ground truth, and that's what you find in this chapter. Now some new ones. Business acumen. I would love to tell you that that's relatively new, and it is. But it's a fundamental from this point forward. If you're going to be in sales, you're going to be a business person. It's just a fact. You're going to have business acumen. And you're also going to know how to lead change if you're going to succeed in helping other people change. You're going to have to know how to build consensus, and change management is part of that. And you're going to need to be a leader. And if you do all of these things in these chapters, you will be different enough that you will develop a preference. You'll develop a preference for you, for your solution, and for your company. And these are fundamentals. So this book, despite the provocative title, the book inside is a book of fundamentals for people who care deeply about who do I have to be to generate these results over the longer term. And the reason we called it the only sales guide you'll ever need is because it is a pretty complete framework for thinking about who you have to be and then what you have to do to succeed in sales. So the book is on Amazon. We'll put a link here if you want a deep dive into the fundamentals in 240 pages and about 4.5 hours of reading. It's right here. And I do hope you pick it up. And I do hope you hit subscribe because this show is every day.